Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You ever hear that saying? I mean, sometimes we get carried away. We find something that's wrong and we just throw the whole thing out. It's like, wait a minute, there's something good there. And I think that's what happens with biblical principles so often, or when other people fall into sin, right? Somebody else falls into sin and then we think, oh, Christianity didn't work for them, then why should I do it? Why should I follow Christianity if they're gonna quote scripture, they're gonna go to church and they're gonna fall into sin? Why should I even bother? There are godly principles that work in the earth. And it's up to the people to apply those principles. And if they don't, they fail. But that doesn't make the principle wrong. Okay? So somebody sees a cliff and they jump off the cliff and fall to their death. That doesn't make gravity bad. That makes that person stupid. Right? Or a rapist says, you know what? You ought to stop at stoplights. You ought to stop at stoplights because you could get in an accident. So I always stop at stoplights. He's a rapist. Does that mean that I blow through stoplights because a rapist said that? No. The problem is in that person and their personal application and whatever's going on in their life. That does not make the principle wrong. Many people, when it comes to things of the spirit in the Christian life, if they see another Christian fail, they automatically think that this stuff doesn't work. No, the person working it didn't work. It was operator error. Back in the 80s, there was a book called I Kissed Dating Goodbye. It was so popular for every Christian teen, for Christian parents, youth groups were using it. And it was very good, but it was very restrictive about dating. And it encouraged Christians to not date, to not try people out, but to save themselves and wait for God's perfect person for them, right? And well, over the years of people trying this and doing this, a lot of people had failures in their life, failures in their marriage, personal failures. And they blamed the author of this book, and they blamed the book to the point that the author came back and said, I'm sorry I wrote that book. I didn't know what I was talking about. And he ended up divorcing his wife. Can I tell you something? The problem was not in the principle. The problem was in the operators, the one who were operating the principles. They thought that these principles were supposed to make their life better, and that's why they were doing it. They wanted the perfect marriage. They wanted the perfect life, and they thought that these principles were supposed to give them the perfect life. That's not what Christian principles are supposed to do. Christian principles are supposed to bring you closer to God. And sometimes that means at the expense of your pleasure. That means at the expense of the things that you want and desire. That means things don't always go right in the world, but it's not about that. It's not about you having a perfect life. It's about you following the commandments of God and you pleasing God. But what happened was that these people saw that it didn't meet their expectations. They didn't get the perfect life. Their wife didn't love them. There was one specific example where a guy saved himself for marriage, a man. He saved himself for marriage until he was in his late 20s. He got married and he thought everything was going to be great, that this was the woman God had for him, that she was going to love him, that they were going to have a beautiful sex life because he waited all the way up until then. Well, it turns out that she wasn't into that. She didn't want to. And he blamed this book for his experience. That, man, if I hadn't read that book, I could have been having so much fun, and look, this didn't work out for me. And it's like, you know what? It was his ideas that caused that situation in his life. That he wasn't doing it to please God. He was doing it as a strategy to get the perfect life. Christianity is not about us having the perfect life, unfortunately. It is about pleasing God at the expense sometimes of our pleasure and our wants and our desires. Christianity is about spiritual death. It's about dying to anything that gets in the way of our relationship with God. Not fun, but it's the truth. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater just because you see somebody fail. Just because you see somebody who said they were a Christian and they failed. It's not about what their experience. It's about you and God. How are you gonna follow the Lord? How are you gonna walk with Him? That's what it's all about. That helps you today. I hope that gives you